Lever-action hunting rifle in Canada, soon to be illegal. Semi-automatic .22 rifle in Canada, soon to be illegal. Good old Cooey .22 caliber bolt-action rifle, soon to be illegal. Hello and welcome back to the Weighted Native Chronicles. What we're heading to very soon in Canada is a complete ban, basically, on a whole range of hunting rifles that are traditionally used for hunting. These are not assault rifles, but they're all going to be made illegal because the Liberal government under Trudeau is about to pass another law, even in addition to the handgun freeze, where they are going to limit the maximum magazine capacity on rifles to 5 rounds. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what that will result in for the average gun owner. Hello and welcome back to the Weighted Native Chronicles. I thank you for your support of this channel and for taking your time to view this. This is important information for Canadian gun owners, and I think it's probably also of great interest to our American brothers and sisters down south. The crazy things that are going on in Canada right now, the Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau, it seems that he has no limits. He is a political opportunist, and he's determined to take the gun-owning public of Canada and make them into the boogeyman in order to deflect from the problems this country is facing and to make them afraid of us. So even though our gun legislation is very strong already, which most Canadians don't even know, he is going to claim that we have a big problem with legal gun owners. Never mind all the gang shooting and stuff that he's not going to be doing anything about. It's us guys that they have to be afraid of, and that's how he plans to win this next election. So we're going to explain what he's up to. In addition to the handgun freeze that I spoke about in an earlier video, he is now taking the extraordinary step of making a whole range of hunting rifles illegal. This is something that even I didn't expect, and I'm fairly cynical. But he based partly on the fact that he has in the past assured Canadians, don't worry, I'm not coming after your hunting rifles. No, that's not what this is all about. You know, we're just trying to stop crime on the streets, blah, blah, blah. Now he's coming for our hunting rifles. The guy is a liar, just like he promised we are not going to reinstate a gun registry. Well, he's already done that. A lot of people don't know that, but it's in place already. Right back in again. Things that he has specifically promised not to do. Here he goes. So what are we talking about with this new law that's coming down the pike that's going to affect so many gun owners' firearms? Well, I'll give you a little bit of information about me, because I think in a lot of respects I'm a fairly typical Canadian gun owner. I'm not really a guy that collects a whole lot of guns and buys AR-15s and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of gun owners who do that. For me, I'm mainly interested in firearms for hunting and sustenance. You know, we get most of our meat from the field, especially moose and deer. And we also like to have a handgun, handgun in my case, because I have an authorization to carry, but also have a rifle around for protection, because in the wilderness there is a small chance that you might need a rifle for protection. And that's also going to be directly pertinent to this subject here today, because lever actions are quite ideal for that sort of thing. What I have in terms of a gun collection, I don't really regard it as a collection. These are just guns that I use. There are 4 rifles that I have that are going to be made illegal by this law. And these are very useful guns. The first one here is a lever action. You might think, well, this is not an assault rifle, right? But you know what Trudeau says is going to happen is this gun is going to be illegal because it can hold more than 5 rounds of ammunition. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know how lever actions work, but rifles like this, they have a tube magazine. So you basically take, and this is a dummy cartridge here. Okay, see I drilled a hole through it. This is for safety, dummy primer and a hole drilled right through it, so there's no possibility of it containing gunpowder. So perfectly safe. Just don't get it mixed up with live rounds. So what you do with a lever action is you take these rounds like this and you push them in. And as you do that, I'll take another one here. Then you take the next one and you push it in. And what it does is it winds up pushing all these rounds up into the magazine until the last one goes in, and then you have a magazine full of cartridges. In the case of a 30-30 like this, it can hold 6 rounds in the tube. You can even put one in the chamber ahead of time and then have a total capacity of 7 rounds, in fact. This gun will exceed the 5 cartridge limit for magazines for what Trudeau is proposing here. He's not just proposing it, he's going to do it. He's not going to do it by regular legislative process either. He's going to do this by an order in council, most likely. That is where overnight, maybe even by the time you view this video, it will suddenly be law. And so no time to prepare or nothing. And what the law actually is going to require is that the gun has to be permanently altered so that it can never accept more than 5 rounds in the magazine. It's that word permanently that is really making it worse, because if you could, let's say, like a lot of shotguns, you can only have a maximum number of shells in them, so you can just put a tube inside the magazine. They also use magazines like the one I just showed you. You can put a blocker inside the magazine so that if a conservation officer checks you out, he just makes sure, okay, yeah, you can't hold more than 3 rounds in that magazine and you're good to go. But if you don't have that blocker in, you're going to get charged. That's not good enough for Trudeau. What he says is that you have to take this gun and you have to somehow make it a permanent change to it so it can never accept more than 5 rounds. Now, how are you going to do that? I have no idea what these guys are thinking, how we're going to do this. Make it permanent so you can never do it, so there's no way to undo that change? It's crazy. So these guns like this are going to be relegated to the junk heap because they'll have to be turned into the police. I can't put this gun down because this gun, I've got others and I can go into all the specifics of showing how the magazines work, but you know, most of you are aware of that how these guns work. It's the tubular magazine rifles that are the real issue here, because they're the hardest to change in order to limit them to 5 rounds. If it's just a box clip, box magazine I should say, that goes in there, you could swap a larger capacity magazine, box magazine out for a smaller capacity one and you'd be good, so there's no change. But these kind of rifles, and they're talking about the Cooey 22 rifles that kids use, they're all just like this. That Cooey 22, I've had it since I was 14 years old. It's the first gun I ever owned. As far as Trudeau is concerned, that's worth nothing to him. You know, you hand that in, it's going to go on the junk heap. This rifle here was given to me by my wife over 46 years ago as the first gift she ever gave me for Christmas. It's the rifle that her father used. He's a trapper. My wife is Danae. She's 38. Been grown up in a family that lived off trapping, and this is the rifle exactly a Model 94 Winchester in 30-30 that her father always used. So she wanted me to have that gun. And I brought home a lot of moose and deer and elk with this gun over the years. It's a fantastic rifle. So I have to give that away. And sort of in connection to that, I mean, I thought the Trudeau government was respecting the Canadian Constitution with the treaties it signed with Native peoples, where they said, we guarantee you the right to continue being able to hunt and practice your lifestyle of sustenance by these treaties. That's guaranteed in the Constitution. They can't impinge on that. And that's one of the strengths of Canadian law, actually, and the way we structure a Constitution, is we actually have that third party, the Native peoples in Canada, that are stewards of the land. They actually have a right to step forward when some very destructive activity is about to take place to the environment, and go to the courts and say, yo, we object to that. The treaties you signed with us guaranteed that we'd be able to continue hunting and sustaining ourselves on these lands, and now you're going to destroy that land's ability to provide wildlife and fish and things like that to us. That's a violation of the treaty promises. So, that's a pretty important thing to have somebody who's not necessarily just on the side of corporations and big business to be able to have legal standing in the courts to challenge some of these things, which may be motivated by politicians who are just trying to be bought off, or just trying to get reelected and not really caring about what all those people in those sparsely populated communities want, because they want to drag the bucks into the big cities where they have most of their voters and make themselves look good. So I really like that in Canadian law. Now I'm sort of digressing, but this protection of Native rights also includes being able to purchase rifles. And really, in the previous year, Trudeau made a ban on all these, what he calls assault rifles. Like about 1,500 rifles just got made illegal overnight. And I mean literally overnight. But I noticed something. He was afraid to ban the SKS rifles. Those Russian rifles, semi-automatics that shoot 7.62 by 39 cartridges. He didn't ban those, and that's because he knows that the Native people could come up against him on that and say, hey, we're promised hunting rights. Those SKSs that you can buy for like $50, well, they're a little bit higher now, but they're the cheapest rifles on the market, and they're functionally able to bring down moose and be used for sustenance hunting. And Native peoples are not often very rich. In fact, some of them are very, very poor. And if you take away these cheap rifles, you're effectively taking away their hunting rights. So that's why the Trudeau government left the SKS rifles off that list of banned rifles. Well, remember what I told you about this rifle that my wife's father used? They all use these rifles. These are great rifles for hunting and sustenance and for trapping and things like that. It's light. You can carry it around. It carries lots of ammunition in it. Sometimes you're making running shots. They're mostly working in the bush, and you might need to fire off a few to bring down an animal, because moose are pretty tough animals. You sometimes have to plug them a few times, and you don't want to be running out of ammunition. 5 rounds is not always going to be enough, especially with a rifle like this. It's not hugely high powered. So he's going to ban, basically do the same thing that he promised not to do with the SKS rifles. He's going to take these rifles that natives use and make them illegal. So I think the same vulnerability exists towards his proposed law in the case of guns like this especially. And then you can take 22s and things like that. 22s are used all the time for getting small game, right? For getting rabbits and things like that, you got to have a .22. And these are the kind of rifles that Native peoples use too, as well as the rest of us. So I'm sort of focusing on the Native aspect of this because I think that's where the Trudeau government is most in jeopardy of being having his laws knocked down by the courts. So anyways, that's kind of the rambling sort of explanation I have for you on this. This is a very serious infringement on Canadian gun owners' rights. We need these rifles, and there's a lot invested in them. There's a lot of history associated with them. What's going on with this country? Do what you can by contacting your member of parliament and letting them know what an outrage you think this is. It seems that there's no controversy or anything that can dislodge this prime minister we have from government, whether he puts on blackface or whether he's paid off by SNC-Lavalin and then fires his Indigenous justice minister for refusing to paper over the way he's letting alleged crooks go free. We had this terrible shooting in Nova Scotia, and recently it just come to light that the RCMP in charge of that investigation was pressured by Trudeau's safety minister and the commissioner for the RCMP to release facts about these guns that this guy used, because they're just about to, at that time they were about to release news about this new law they were going to make to ban all assault rifles. And when they saw all these people in Nova Scotia killed, it was the worst massacre in Canadian history. They just said, oh, this is so good for us. So please give us some lead information, because it'll really help us get our proposed law out to the public and get support for it. Of course, as we found out, all these guns were illegal, smuggled into Canada by a criminal, very likely a RCP informant. We still haven't got to the bottom of that, but these are tremendous scandals in this country, and nothing can touch this Trudeau guy. It's the most bewildering thing I've seen in my life in terms of politics. Okay, I'll lay off it for a while. I just wanted to mainly get across to you this message about what's going to happen to us gun owners here in this country. It's terrible. I hope you got something out of this video. If you have, then don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and click like and even the notification button on this video, because that is making a huge difference with these videos. I noticed the previous one just took right off, so definitely click like, put a comment in there, let me know what you're thinking. The comments from the last video have really guided the progress towards this video here. So I'm hearing a lot of feedback from Canadians and also Americans. So please feel free to let me know what you want to focus on this channel. So from the Way to Native Chronicles, I'd like to wish you God bless, and catch you next time.
Det den er der kan have what's in it. You can't. That's it.